My full name is Laurence Chauvin Buthaud, and my brand name is Laurence Airline. And I'm a designer of the brand Laurence Airline. My mother, she's from Cameroon, and my father is from France, and I was born in Ivory Coast. I grew up between different countries. Then my education was starting in Ivory Coast, and after in Switzerland, and after in Paris. And now I'm based between Paris and Ivory Coast. I was studying fashion in Paris, and I decided to do fashion because I'm a person creative. Then that's how I find the way to do fashion. After studying, I start my business maybe 2 years after, because my father has an industry in Ivory Coast, and he pushed me to try something in Africa and in Ivory Coast. And I was planning to spend only a month there, but I was staying there 6 months, and that's how I start my first business in fashion. My daily routine it changes. It depends where I am, because I'm really, like, in Paris is different than when I'm in Ivory Coast, and it's different when I'm moving all around the world to present the collection or do some other project. But yeah, for me it's difficult to give something clear. The only thing it's I have a process. I have the process of sourcing, like material. I have the process of finding inspiration, the process of designing the collection, and after to sell, and after to just produce and deliver. Then and that's in 6 months. Then it depends where I am in this period of 6 months. I'm really live between like Paris and Ivory Coast constantly, but like I could be like 2 months in Paris, 2 months in Ivory Coast, 1 month somewhere else, and 2 months, 2 months. It's more like that, yeah. My expectation for the business is to grow constantly, and yeah, to just keep going in the way I am now. And I would love to develop more print. And now I'm working on that project to make my own print and to develop some technique in terms of printing. And yeah, to just not like growing too much, but just growing enough so we could be in life year after year. What inspired me the most, it's really the meeting I had and what I see, and that's why for me it's really important to travel, because when I meet some people with a character, or when I see some color or some taste or something, that's really what makes me feel inspiring. How I select the fabric, it's during the fair in Paris. That's where I select like the fabric from Europe, and the fabric from Africa. I directly source it in Ivory Coast, and the pine print I use, are from West Africa. What I like the most, it's really to be able to make a project in Africa. It's not just about designing something, it's also about producing something in Africa. Because I think, many things come from Africa and are transformed outside Africa. And for me, it was really a challenge to transform something in Africa and just show that it's possible to make something in high quality from there, and after make it travel. The problem I find really in my business was really, to be able to produce like myself, and because I was looking, to make some high quality garments, and to teach people to be able to do it in Africa, in West Africa. And that was really a challenge, to take time, you know, to really, you know, build a team and be able to deliver on time, and that was really challenging. The benefit that having my factory in Ivory Coast is, you know, I was starting with some tailor like 10 years ago, and I think, you know, there is something we learn together, but I also bring, you know, some intelligence from outside, some different kind of people, for they come and they teach them how to work well. And I know if they decide, you know, to continue their own story, you know, they really learn something that they could use for themselves. The ways Paris view African fashion, it's moving, because, you know, from last year, you know, like you had a lot of different brands start to use some wax print and stuff, and it started to be something quite trendy. Then I think now, you know, people in Paris are really curious and exciting about print, and but that I would like to say about, you know, like wax fabric and printing. But that's not just African fashion. I think, you know, the heritage of France, you know, it's also, you know, France have a lot of connection with North Africa, West Africa. Then I think they are sensitive to, you know, like African fashion. It takes maybe a bit of time in terms of, for me it's more about color and things, you know, really. But that's also normal, you know, because that's not something to put people on case, but when you are dark skin or white skin, the colors with you are different. And I think, you know, when you suggest garments, you know, that's why, you know, with Laurence Airline, I try to make some garment, you know, for different complexion color, it could suit best, you know, because when you see some orange color, you know, not everyone could wear orange easily. Then I think that's the way, like, you know, even fashion from Africa, if fashion from Africa wants to be, you know, like international, maybe it's good to think of everyone, you know, with a taste of Africa, but to understand that, like, you know, we could be just ethnic, but we could be like with influences but ethnic culture, but with something really contemporary. I think, you know, the problem that's African industry in fashion, you know, face now, it's really in terms of, I think, building some industry, because I think, you know, there is a lot of industry have to grow in Africa, but we could build industry like in China, you know, but we know that that's not fair. We could just, you know, also take time and see that how is the environment now, and try to make something in a better way for longer term. And that's something hopefully, you know, like the other industry will think about. The thing is, you know, there is some massive industry there, and in the other side there is nothing, you know, there is no middle, you know, industry. There is biggest or the really small. But now I think, you know, hopefully in Africa they will start to have some middle industry, you know, make a middle class, you know, grow, and yeah, in a good way, because, you know, that's a country really still really rich in terms of what is possible to do. That's why it's also really inspiring, because it's still, you know, like a virgin. Is the way to say.